All right, let's roll into it. David, you have a really great tip of the week for us today. I do see a lot of new names and faces here, so I think this tip of the week is going to be a hit. 5 lessons from managing a membership website. I can pass it over to you, David. You can kind of take us into this tip of the week here.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So, being the first webinar of the new year and kind of leaning on the theme of New Year's resolutions, we figured it might be good to take a step back, look a little bit in the rearview mirror, and try to get some lessons out of what you might have learned from managing either your first or your second or your third membership website. This would probably be most beneficial to some of our newest users who are just now launching their membership websites. But if you've had your site online for a few weeks, a few months, a few years, we'll be curious to see if you agree with the 5 lessons that we list here. Maybe you have your own to share as well. So diving right into it, lesson number 1. This is probably the point that we've hammered home most in our past webinars, is launching fast and making gradual improvements along the way. A quote that we love here is, "Perfection is the enemy of progress." We really want to focus on our MVP, not most valuable player, but minimal viable product. What we can put the least amount of effort and time into, but get to market successfully. So a good benchmark that we like to shoot for is 80%. Get the website 80% set up. It has pretty much everything, but there is room to make some improvements and tweaks along the way. Once we get to that 80% level-ish, then we can launch and we can get some early feedback from our first website visitors and members, and we can use their feedback to make updates. The reason why we want to do this is because oftentimes an idea might be really good to start, but it will probably require some changes along the way to really fine tune it and make it as attractive as it can be to our target demographic. So we want to find out what we can change sooner rather than later, because we don't want to invest a bunch of time and energy into something that we might end up needing to change down the road anyway. Another benefit of this is that we can gather early feedback and we can fine tune our talking points, our sales pitch, the language that we use in our marketing materials, everything like this. So there's a lot of benefits that come from launching fast, kind of lean and mean, and making gradual improvements along the way.
And also with this, I think the MVP, or the minimum viable product here, it doesn't have to be just for your entire website project. It can be about a part of your website that you're creating. Let's take an example of the add-on that's coming soon, the member credits system. We have a lot of features we want to bake into that, but we're going to release a minimal viable product just for that add-on. So we can release something, we can get feedback. We don't want to overdevelop or overinvest in something that we don't even know if people want or need right off the bat. So the minimum viable product can be for the entire scope of your website, or just pieces of your website if you're planning to release new features to your site over time.
That's a great example, and our users who have been with us for a while have probably recognized that. Most often with our add-ons, we typically have a phase 1 and then a phase 2 and maybe a phase 3 where we roll out some additional changes a little bit down the road once we get some feedback from our users. And going along with that idea, we figured this previous tip of the week would be useful in this respect: the value of early member feedback and why every membership program needs a beta launch. So what this covers is the goals of a beta launch, and it doesn't even really need to technically be a beta launch. It could just be launching early with that minimal viable product and then making those changes along the way. But the goals of a beta launch, why we want to do it, the benefits of it, how to roll one out, and maybe most importantly, the metrics, the KPIs, the feedback that we want to look out for during that initial launch process. All right, lesson number 2. Solid onboarding increases retention. So the quote that we thought went along great with this is, preparation is the key to success. Now, preparation doesn't just apply to us, the website owners, the ones who are rolling out the website, but it also applies to our members. The more prepared they are, the more knowledge they have, as soon as they start their membership on our website, the greater chances they are to have success within our community. So we want to get our members on the right track as soon as possible. And to do that, we want to provide them with some simple first steps. We don't want to bombard them with all the information in the world But we also don't want to just leave them hanging after they sign up for their membership and hope that they figure everything out on their own. Overwhelmed and or confused members will have a tendency to cancel early because either they feel like this is just too much for me to digest right now, or they'll feel like, well, I can't really figure out what to do right now. This isn't really what I signed up for. It's not worth my time. So happier and more engaged members will mean less overall work for us. If we can set them on the right track initially, as early as possible, we're getting them engaged in our community, engaged with other members. They had a clear understanding of what they signed up for, and now that they are signed up, they can see the value in what they signed up for. That means we'll have less work in the future. We'll have less support inquiries to deal with. We'll have less cancellation requests, everything like that. And the feedback that we get from early members, going back to that previous lesson, the feedback that we get from the early members will help us fine tune our onboarding process. Maybe we find out from our initial members and initial website users that a video tutorial, like a screen share, would really benefit them, showing them the different areas of the member dashboard, or a couple initial welcome emails, letting them know what features they have available to them, what type of content they can find on the website, things like this, setting them up for success as soon as possible.
And really, onboarding starts with the homepage and your offering when they're just in the awareness stage, when they're just learning about your service or your solution. So, we often hear sometimes, why aren't members signing up to my site? The short answer is we haven't compelled them or given them the right reason to sign up to a site. Even an ugly, clunky website, if they do a good job of compelling people to sign up, the people are going to click around and figure out how to get onto that portal. So why aren't people signing up sometimes is because we haven't compelled them or shown them that there's enough value to sign up. The second thing we hear is members aren't completing their profiles, or they sign up and then abandon the website altogether. And that's mainly what David's talking about here, is the onboarding them with simple first steps. We need to educate them on how to use the site, what they can get out of the site as well. So this onboarding is, think of it as an educational experience, letting them know what they should do next and what they can expect if they do those steps. So if you have members that are abandoning their profiles early on, immediately after sign up, or not completing their profiles, or not utilizing all the different sections and services that your website has, it's an education thing, and we want to provide them with welcome emails. Videos are great, 2-minute video welcoming them to your site, explaining to them what to do next, and some cool areas of the site goes a long way. And those two simple things, good welcome emails and a 1 to 2 minute video welcoming them to your site and what they can get out of it, would probably change things 20x from the current experience if you're not doing those things for your members. So that will help with retention, will eliminate early cancellations and people abandoning their profiles over time as well.
Very well said. And so going along with that, another previous tip of the week, how to onboard new members with an inviting welcome plan. This covers a lot of great aspects of a welcome plan. We focus a lot on kind of the welcome email and maybe even an email sequence if you want to employ multiple emails. But we go through kind of the things to think about before you actually do set up your onboarding plan, defining your audience, their expectations, how to meet and exceed their expectations, what kind of assets to include in your onboarding plan, whether it's an initial welcome email or if it's more of a kind of drawn out process. Maybe you're going to follow up with them with a phone call, make sure they're happy with everything. If you're going to kind of drip feed them a few emails along the way, things like that. So we go into quite a bit of depth in this tip of the week here.
Yeah, I think if you can compel people to sign up and then really nail the onboarding and the welcome plan that you have for your members, you're going to have happier members because they're utilizing your services correctly and getting the most out of it. But you're engaging them and they now know how to use your service, and that's kind of how word of mouth advertising starts to work, is because they're actually getting the benefits of the service that you're offering them.
Exactly. And kind of going along with word of mouth marketing, number 3, brilliant customer service pays dividends. So we've all probably heard the phrase, the quote, "It takes months to find a customer, but only seconds to lose one." no matter how prepared we are, no matter how well thought out our website is, our onboarding process is, members will always have problems, whether it's a member or we're just a website visitor. Customers, no matter which form they take, there's always going to be problems that arise. But it's how we handle those problems and the resolutions we provide that they'll remember more than the problem itself. It's really important to keep in mind that the members who might get the most upset, the ones who write raging emails, or maybe you're on the phone with them and they're just extremely upset and frustrated, it's probably because they're the most passionate members that you have. They're the most passionate of your users. They care the most about your product. They had high expectations that they think you can meet. They're just having some trouble on that path. And so exceptional customer service can oftentimes turn those most upset members into our biggest advocates. If we can provide them with exceptional customer service, just really exceed their expectations every which way, they can end up being our biggest advocates and telling everybody they know how good our community is, how good our website is, the management behind the website, instead of telling everybody how terrible we are. The other benefit about turning members into advertisers or advocates is that lowers our cost per acquisition. So if we're paying for advertising or we're boosting posts on Facebook and other social networks or whatever it may be, if we have some sort of cost for acquiring new members, using our existing members to bring in new members, well, that's not only cheaper for us, but it increases our revenue, it continues to grow our community, and it gets everybody engaged. A really important thing to keep in mind when you are dealing with customer service issues is just put yourself in the mind of the member or the customer. How would you want the issue to be resolved if you are the member who's having difficulties? And what would it take to make you really be wowed by the customer service experience? I think a lot of times it might take a little extra work on our part to exceed their expectations. We could put in the minimal amount of effort and solve their problem and they'd be happy. But what can we do to really make them feel special? Because if we can really make them feel special, we'll have a better shot that they'll end up telling their friends, their family, their coworkers about our website and about our community and bring them in with them.
There's a problem with this slide, David. I'll tell you what the problem with this slide is. And I hear it in the Facebook group and things like that, is sometimes people, when they're launching a membership site or a directory site for a local region, they don't think customer service, that they're supposed to offer customer service. They just create the website and people will join and pay and upgrade and add their profiles and their listings, and that's the end of the experience. And it can be in some certain cases. But if you're if you're a solopreneur, you have an idea, you're launching, you have to create customer service experiences because you need that feedback. You need to be proactive, reach out to new signups, call them, welcome them to the site, ask them if they need help completing their profile, ask them why they joined the site. If somebody cancels, call them and see if there's anything that you can do to help them, find out why they canceled so you can prevent that for other people. So part of this is not just providing customer service, because it might be non-existent for you right now because there's no engagement, there's no touch points. So what we need to do is create those touch points, one, to stay engaged with our community so they know that there's real people behind it. It's not just a void, it's not just a shell company running this this website that's online. It has a soul and a personality and people behind it. But when we reach out, we're creating engagement opportunities, we're gaining feedback, we're building loyalty and trust and creating evangelists, and we can then provide exceptional customer service that people will rave and rant about. So if you're not calling your members, if you're not reaching out to members and you're just passively waiting for things to happen on your site, I would highly recommend start reaching out to your members, whether it's a simple email. Ask them simple questions. How did you like the sign-up experience? Why did you sign up to the site? Maybe put a chat tool on your site so you can engage people as they're browsing your site. They can leave you messages. Open up the channels of communication. We need to create those touch points to provide customer service for customer service to exist in the first place. And to the third point here of exceptional customer service can turn members into advertisers and lower your cost per acquisition. A lot of us might not be spending money on paid advertising like Google ads and Facebook ads, but you are paying with your time that you're putting into your site. And when you have members that are telling their friends and colleagues about your site, it lowers your cost per acquisition, whether it's financial with paid ads, or the time you're spending trying to get new members signed up to your site. Your time matters as well, and word of mouth referrals, again, will save you time and money for acquiring new members. So keep that in mind as well. But remember, you have to create those customer service touch points for customer service to exist in the first place.
Those are great points, which are great segues into this additional piece of content, as well as the next lesson that we have. But before we get there, this doesn't cover customer service so narrowly as replying to customer inquiries or member inquiries, but it does cover it more broadly in the terms of getting personal with them, noticing your most active members, celebrating their achievements, really promoting the content that they're contributing to your website, and cultivating and energizing your community as a whole. So this is a great article to go through, maybe to get some new ideas about how to kind of invigorate your community and your website a little bit more. All right, lesson number 4, it takes work. So going back to what Jason said, when you're first starting your membership website, a lot of people, they might not think that there's a customer service element to it. But what comes easy won't last, and what lasts won't come easy. Now, what's easy is subjective, but ultimately it comes down to how much time and effort you put into launching and managing your website and your community. One of the most common questions that we get asked here at Brilliant Directories by some of our new users is if there's one thing you could point to why some membership websites and directory websites don't succeed, what would that be? I think one of the most common reasons is that some people just don't look at the website as a business. Now, maybe their goal initially isn't to generate revenue. Maybe it's for a nonprofit or some other community where the website itself isn't the generator of revenue. But we still want to think of the website as a business and the members as customers. You can't launch a business in one day or a week or a couple weeks and just put it out there and hope that customers continue to come to you and they're not going to have any problems and they won't need hand-holding or questions answered or anything like that. Running a business takes work. So whether it's a side hustle that you're starting with your website or you're hoping it eventually turns into your full-time job, it will take work, and the level of success you see will depend on how much time and effort you put into launching and continuing to manage the website and community. Along the way, initially, you're going to have to bring awareness to your website and your community, and you're going to have to convince website visitors and prospective members to eventually join, whether it's for a free membership or a paid membership. And then once they're joined, you're going to have to maintain members on your website so that if they're paying, well, that they keep paying, or if they're free members, that they keep coming back to your website and engaging in the community so that the community can continue to grow and flourish. So it does take work, but there's so many rewards that come from having a successful membership website and community. Obviously, there's the recurring revenue aspect, which I'd say the majority of membership website owners are after, but there's also the freedom and flexibility that comes with managing your website. Some of our most successful customers here, they've put so much time and effort into the websites that they're generating, 7 figures. They've had to hire employees now. It's really turned into an actual full-time job and business for them. So there's some amazing rewards that come with putting in the time and effort and energy into launching and managing your membership community. And there's the obvious benefit of the fact that you are providing some value to your members and everybody in your community. They're not joining just because they have nothing better to do. They're looking for something. They're looking for a solution to a problem, and you are their solution. So if they're sticking with you and they're continuing to be engaged in the community, that's a huge benefit that you're making to your community as a whole.
And here's a kicker, actually. It does take work, but we want to work smarter, not necessarily harder, right? So our time is limited, our resources are limited. We want to bring things to their lowest common denominator, whether it's the marketing or maintaining member engagement. Like, we don't have full-time resources for every aspect of our business. I think on the next slide, actually, David, here it is, 5 daily tasks for membership website owners. This was a really good tip of the week we did a while ago, but it's not only like a mythology and an idea of how to tackle the tasks on your website. It kind of shows you shortcuts to achieve things like maintaining a marketing pulse on your site, or how you can continuously recruit new members, with minimal energy, time, and effort. Again, because most of us are one man and one woman shows here. So knowing how to focus your time and work smarter, not harder, is key, especially when you need to create content, do your own customer service, do your own marketing, and things like that. So I think, David, did you share the link in here?
I did.
Okay.
And yeah, this is a great tip of the week, because we do mention, these don't have to be tasks that you do every single day. You could do this once a week or once every other week, and they'll make a big difference for your community.
Yeah, this was one of my favorite tips of the week. It actually gave actionable steps on what you should do after your site launches, just to keep things moving forward, staying top of mind, and things like that.
And moving on to the last lesson here, ask yourself the right question. A lot of you have, as you've joined Brilliant Directories and you've started to get your websites up and running, you might have initially spoken with Dennis from our sales team here, and he brought up this point that a lot of people ask initially, well, how much money do you think I can make if I start a membership website? And oftentimes that's not really the right question that you want to be asking. What you do want to ask yourself is really, how many members can I attract? By asking how many members can I attract, we then have to think, well, what do we need to offer? What do we need to provide of value that's going to actually bring people to the website? Because if we're not offering anything of value, if we're not offering something that people really want or need, then we're not going to be making any money anyway. So that's really the big question we want to ask ourselves, is who our audience is and what are they after? What can we be providing them that's really going to be something that they're willing to pay for? Whether it's a one-time payment, maybe you're offering an ebook or a downloadable PDF or a lesson course or something like that. Or maybe you're offering an ongoing membership. They have a recurring membership fee, maybe it's monthly, and you're consistently providing them with valuable content. Well, instead of asking, well, how much money can we make? That's a broad question, because it depends on who our target audience is and what they're after, and most importantly, what we're providing. So that's the thing we want to keep in mind throughout the whole lifespan of our membership website and our community, is how much value am I really providing to my members and my prospective members? Am I providing them enough value where they're willing to pay for what they're getting out of the website?
Yeah, that goes back to I think it was this point. Let's go back a little bit here. Yeah, it goes back to the welcome, the onboarding, number 2, and being able to have the right compelling offering and education during the sign-up process and after the sign-up process. So instead of asking, again, just to repeat what David said, how much can I make with my website? It's how many members can I attract? How many people can I compel to sign up, complete their profiles, follow through with the other services that the portal or the website offers. So this goes on to the website owner's hands to be able to connect with their community and engage their community with those resources, so their members and the website owner gets the most out of the experience. So it's the benefit of the website owner and their members.
That's right. And so going along with that, another previous tip of the week that we had, 5 tips for attracting new members to your website. Again, we kind of took a more holistic approach in this tip of the week, not so much focusing on, well, how much money can you make, but discussing how you can actually create a community atmosphere, how you can get in front of your target audience, how bringing influencers into the fold or turning your most successful or engaged members into kind of walking advertisements for you, upsell techniques, creating relationships, not only from member to member, but also you creating individual relationships with your members so that they know that there's somebody who cares about them and cares about the community behind the scenes. These are all topics that we discuss in this tip of the week. So this is a really great presentation that we did that takes kind of that more bird's eye, top level, holistic look at this question.
Awesome, David. Thank you so much for putting these slides together. I think we want to ask you guys a question. What's one thing you wish you knew, especially for our seasoned BDers? What's one thing you wish you knew when starting your membership community or website? Maybe you can share one or two things that you've learned during your journey and along the process about starting a business, creating your website, and things like that. I think we've got a couple hands up here. Stephen, let me unmute your microphone. How you doing, Stephen?
I'm fine. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Thanks for joining the webinar.
Thank you for having me. So yeah, for me, it's when I launched my website, I spent quite a bit on customizations that now, because my website has evolved, I'm not even using anymore. So I guess the thing I would not do is spend too much on the customizations until you, as you mentioned earlier, get feedback. And because it may evolve in a different direction, and you may not use them.
That's interesting. So did you think your site needed like certain features or certain workflows for members to even want to use it?
I did, yeah. And I think really in retrospect, I didn't get enough feedback to realize that I didn't need them in the end, or that I was going to go in a slightly different direction. So I think I jumped the gun on that, thinking it would attract more members if I had X, Y, and Z customizations. And it may have, but again, my site shifted a bit.
Gotcha. Let me ask you another question. Do you foresee any customizations you do want to execute now that you have a clearer picture of what your members want? Or are you done with customization?
No. So I'm not done with customizations at all. In other words, I haven't done it recently, but I do foresee I have a better picture of the customizations that I will do now in the future. And I'm at a place where I believe that they'll have staying power. In other words, I've sort of evolved a bit, and I'm at a better place than when I started out in terms of knowing that those customizations will run the life of the site.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Stephen.
Thank you.
Good stuff there. Good words of wisdom. And we got another hand up here. Our good friend Vincent. How's it going? Happy New Year, by the way.
Hey, I agree with him. The last guy, I think that was a big mistake doing any customization in the beginning. Like I hardly do any customization now, unless I'm absolutely positive I need to do it. So I try to use the stock website as much as possible. But I think the biggest thing I learned was probably how important, whatever website you're going to build, that you are really interested in that subject or really interested in that community or have some sort of knowledge about it, because content is king, right? And being able to answer questions and show up in the search results is super, super valuable. I found that out with my first website. I created a blog post in 2017. It was my very first website from you guys, because I was sick of people calling me, asking me why, looking for discontinued auto parts. My first site was an auto parts website. So people were calling me all the time, hey, how do I find discontinued auto parts? So I made the mistake of creating a blog post about how to find discontinued auto parts. And it hit #1 in America for years. It's still, finally somebody has beat me. I'm number 2 or 3 in America under the number, if you search under how to find discontinued auto parts in America, I went from getting like 5 calls a day to getting 50 calls a day. And it just absolutely drove me crazy. But so the content is what's king. Answering questions, writing interesting stuff, getting, updating people's websites for them or their pages. If you want that customer to look like they're part of your plan, just upgrade their whole program for them. So it looks like there's some major players in your team already, and even if they're paying or not paying, right? So I think that's been the fun part, is just sticking with, making sure that you have the time to take care of that website, because it takes a lot of time, especially when you're building it.
Yeah. So what Vincent is referring to is, he has a wealth of knowledge, and he's made his website and himself a beacon of information for his industry or people seeking out what he knows. And being that beacon of information will trump any customizations you can do on your site because people know they're in the right place. I'm assuming your trust and authority on the subject is what keeps people coming back, Vincent. Is that what it sounds like?
Well, I found a niche by accident that originally the site was built for an auto dealership who wanted to sell more parts to collision repair shops and auto repair shops and other car dealerships and used car dealerships. But what happened by accident was people started calling up wanting discontinued parts or hard to find parts, or they were retail customers. They were trying to fix the car themselves. And this was a shock for us, and the company wasn't really interested in selling discontinued auto parts or used parts or aftermarket parts. They just wanted to sell, at the time, new parts. They were an auto dealership group. And so here, all of a sudden, I had all these leads that I didn't know what to do with. I still have all these leads that I don't know what to do with. But I finally found a group, an auto group, that is now going ahead, and they're going to, because people call up and they want Ford parts, they want Chevy parts, and the original store only wanted Toyota parts leads. So I finally got a group that we're building it right now that has all the brands, and we're going to be able to handle any call that comes in. So it took a while to find the right client for it, but it's been good. And the shocker was, so I found out that 80% of the traffic to your website is research. Google found out that 80% of the traffic on the websites is research. It's not the buying process. So people are researching whatever. And in the process of researching, you want to link to your page where you're selling stuff. But so you answer questions. So now I have software that tells me all the questions about any subject. I try to every day go in there, pick a subject, answer the question, write an answer, and post, and keep posting. Because I'm more in the lead generation side than the kind of typical membership side. People that I work for, they want leads. They want auto parts leads or new car dealership leads, or they want pest control leads or whatever. So I build lead generation websites primarily, and content really moves the needle with Google.
Right, with attracting the consumers, and then they share their need or what they want, and then you connect them with the professionals on the other side of your marketplace. Is that
right? So I have like one person who's getting all the leads from that website primarily. That's what I want. I remember your class where you said, do you want 500 people to pay $25, or do you want this many people to pay $100, or do you want this guy who pays $5,000? I realized I want the one guy. I want one customer that'll pay the $3,000, $5,000 a month. And I'm just going to take care of him all the time. And that's kind of my philosophy. That class was perfect. That was a while ago, but I still remember it very clearly. Do you remember that?
I can share that. Yeah, I'm gonna share that blog article with everyone. It was I think the keyword is three formulas to generate $5,000. Let's see if this comes up here. Here it is.
And so I went after, I want to make $1,000, $3,000, $2,000. I wanted thousands of dollars per client. And that's what happened, is that all my sites now revolve around one client that is paying for those leads.
That's great. That's a great, you know what? I just learned a lot chatting with you just now. I'm sure a lot of people had a lot of takeaways. That's a great journey, and great that you figured out your niche and who you want to work with, and how you want to, and what service you want to provide, and then more importantly, how to continuously stimulate leads coming through. You're answering questions in forums and posts and things like that, so that's working for you as your marketing tool, it sounds like.
Right. And then a little bit of AdWords, because you have to feed the beast, Google.
Sure. Well, thank you, Vincent, for sharing that story with us. It was it's
good talking to you again.
Yeah. I'll chat with you later this year. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good stuff there from Vincent. I think we got one more hand up here. Let me see. Yep. We got our friend Ryan here. How's it going?
Hey, great. Thanks, Jason. How are you doing tonight?
Good. So what's one thing you wish you knew?
Yeah, so this one, there's a couple parts to this, but I'll make the simple thing is that I think a lot of people have inside the directory, they ask themselves about you and the company, is BD worth it? And so I wish I knew when I started to know that the answer is yes. And so I turn this in sense of several things that I think that people go through when they look at directories. Like the first one is, lot of times they don't know if your software is going to work for their niche, right? And we just heard a couple examples across the board where there's always so many different varied business models and niches or whatever. And so, I wish that they knew that BD can do that, right? You can do anything under the sun, any niche that you want, that you're listening to or think about for your business, you guys can do. And then the other one that always comes up with BD is like, hey, I don't know if BD is the right design for me, right? There's a lot of themes, but I don't know if it's the right design. And we've seen, many instances of the BD sites, even out of the box with zero design, efforts or whatever, making, 6 figures a year. We've seen, Corey's, when we started with his sites, just out of the box stuff, but it's because he's running the business, and actually doing stuff. They're making, a lot of money on the service. So the design is good enough, right, for you. And then you can always, flex from there as you go, as we've heard. People always ask, is BD, does it have enough features for me, right? And you guys have pumped out, you guys always do it every year, 1,500, I think, feature add-ons last year. And even looking back at the system like a year ago or 2 years ago, it's not even recognizable because you guys had so much effort and feature development that if it doesn't have all the features you want now, it's going to, right? Because you guys keep pumping it out, and we appreciate that. And then the two last things that come to my mind is the future capabilities. Everybody wonders, hey, is it going to grow with me? Does BD good enough for me to, launch my business on now or into the future? And the answer is yes, because it's one of the only platforms that, you can get in the code and change anything. You can add plugins. It's totally flexible. It is not sterile like some of the other sites out there. You can make and design and build it to whatever you guys want, and so it's future proof. And then the last thing I think everybody always thinks about is, hey, is the support good enough? Am I going to just kind of launch out on a limb here, rely my entire business on a model, and I don't know that they're, the support's going to be there, and you guys have the best support. I think everybody here would agree out there of timeliness, of completeness, and just general community support, both through the Facebook and your entire team there. That just ties the bow on support that no other system does. So my I know it's a multi-part answer, but I guess the answer is, what the question in their mind is, BD worth it? And so that's the thing I wish I would have known. Hopefully everybody else realizes that you guys are. So
Thank you.
I appreciate everything you guys do.
Likewise, Ryan, you're an all-star in the community, so thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, BD does do a lot, and I think that goes back to Stephen's point and Vincent's point and the fact we were talking about minimal viable product. I think there's enough baked in so that you can quickly succeed or quickly fail. There's a benefit to quickly failing. There's a saying, fail fast, right? Because you don't want to waste all your time and money just to learn that something's not going to work out. And I think personally, as the co-founder of BD, I think that's the one competitive advantage users of BD have when they launch their site with BD, is you can fail quickly. I mean, let's be honest, not every idea is going to take off and shoot to the moon. But if we could find out quickly, then yeah, we've saved ourselves a bunch of time and money. And to the point about design, there are some ugly websites out there. Who has used Craigslist in their lifetime? It's clunky. It's really just the most basic website in the world, but goes back to the point of, if you can compel people that there's gold at the end of the rainbow for using the service or the website, people will click as many times as they have to figure out how to get that gold at the end of the rainbow. You just have to let them know what the value is that they're going to get when they reach the finish line. So I think that there's one takeaway here. It's minimal viable product. Get your solution online quickly. Figure out how to compel people to sign up to your site, use your site, figure out how to provide value if value is missing, call people who cancel, try to connect with people before the sign up process to figure out why they're not signing up or what they want to see in order to sign up. And that's going to help you succeed quickly, fail fast, whatever it is, but you're going to get to an end result much faster without wasting your time and money. And many of us have multiple ideas. So that's another thing the platform is good for. And as Vincent was saying, he is servicing different industries like pest control, auto parts, and some other things. And once you figure out a formula for running a membership site, you can replicate that in different markets, different verticals, different industries, and just repeat that process. So I really appreciate everyone who's shared their insight with us today.